Matthew chapter 13, and we're going to read verse 24 through 30. And Yeshua is speaking parabolically as was prophesied of him. And we find him speaking in a parable here, and he says, the scripture says, another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. Somebody say good seed. Verse 25 says this, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. Somebody say among the wheat. Verse 26. But when the grain had sprouted up and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. Amen. The tares also appeared. Verse 27. So the servants of the owner came and said to him, sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares? How did that happen? Verse 28. And he said to them, an enemy has done this. Somebody say an enemy has done this. Then the servant said to him, do you want us then to go and gather them up? You want us to go get them? Verse 29. But he said, no, lest while you gather up the tares, you also uproot the wheat with them. Verse 30. Let both. Somebody say let both. Let both grow together until the wind to what harvest? The wheat harvest? Because that's what he's talking about. Let both grow until the harvest. And at that time of harvest, I will say to, at that time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, first gather together the tares and bind them up in bundles to burn them. But gather the wheat into my barn. Go ahead, take your seats. Here we go. The harvest calls for a gathering. Let that sit in your system real quick because I'm going somewhere. The harvest calls for a gathering. Dearly beloved, we are gathered. Okay. Tares are regarded as weeds. By definition, weeds are a plant that is not valued or wanted. It's not valued or wanted where it is growing, and usually of vigorous growth. Weeds can also include plants that were not intentionally sown in a specific location, or plants that are more competitive or interfere with the activity of people. Let me read that one again. I said weeds can also include plants. I hope you hear me on both sides of that one. Include plants that were not intentionally sown in a specific location, or plants that are more competitive or interfere with the activity of people. What if I told you tares go against the grain of God? Quick side note. The anatomy of a grain consists of three parts, go figure. An outer shell that protects the seed, a surrounding component that provides energy, and then a storehouse. Somebody say a storehouse. And then a storehouse that serves as a repository for nutrients. Now, weeds are considered an eyesore. They're unsightly. Whoever has the field or has the garden doesn't want to see weeds in their garden. If you ever made a bed for like flowers or a garden or whatever, hey, the last thing that you want to see is weeds. And it seems like as soon as you pick those weeds out, they kinfolk come back around. They kind of work like demons. You cast one out and 7 more come back. But weeds are considered an eyesore, and so they also negatively impact the overall health of a lawn, a pasture, or a crop. I said they negatively impact the overall health of a lawn, a pasture, or a crop. Somebody say some are extremely aggressive and destructive. We just talking about the tares. Just talk about tares. Get this, and I need you to listen close. Darnel usually develops in the same production zones as wheat. The similarity between darnel and wheat is so great that in some regions it's known as false wheat. It's so similar to it. I hope y'all can hear me. It's so similar to it that you can mistake one for another if you don't know what you're looking at or what you're looking for. Isn't it something how sometimes we can't tell who's on the Lord's side or who's not? You can't figure out whether they're a wheat or a tare. And if we think that they're a tare, we want to tear them out, but that's above your pay grade. Oh. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So here's another side note for you. In a big enough dose, darnel can kill a person. Are you hearing what I'm saying? It'll kill a person. In ancient times, harvesters would have ensured to remove it from their true harvest. Let me say that one again, because that one need to hit you spiritually. I said in ancient times, harvesters would have ensured to remove it from their true harvest. So in order to get their true harvest, they had to first remove the false wheat. I'm just talking practically. Are you hearing me so far? So on another note, if it was added to beer or bread on purpose, darnel could be used as an intoxicant. So either it will leave you intoxicated if you use a certain amount, or it would kill you. Matthew 13, 37 through 43, the parable of the tares is explained. Verse 24, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. Verse 37 through 38, he that sowed the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. Don't miss this. Don't miss this. Even the enemy knows how to sow. Follow me here. The ground alone may not determine the nature of a growth. Verse 30, it'll make sense to you in a little while. It says, let both grow together until the harvest. Somebody say until the harvest. And at the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, first gather together the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them. Let me go back real quick, because somebody going to get the revelation behind this tonight. First gather together the tares. Don't get the wheat first, get the tares first. Okay, I wish somebody knew the word. I said, don't get the wheat first, get the tares first. So the tares will be off the field, but the wheat will still be on the field. I'm going to leave that right there. By the way, the field is the world. I'm just talking about what you should have said. Don't mind me. Are you hearing what I'm saying? And so we must understand, we got to understand some things, that the tares have permission to grow. And so sometimes when we see terrible things growing and we're saying, how could God allow this? Well, here's your sign. So tares have permission to grow. Somebody say, don't get lost in the weeds. Verse 38, the text tells us the good seeds are the sons of the kingdom. The tares are the sons of the wicked one. Side note, it's kind of interesting how we say children grow like. Verse 39, the enemy who sold them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age. Is this clear enough? And the reapers are the angels. We're not the reapers, so we can't tear nobody up. And so the seed, somebody say the seed. The seed produces in accordance with who sowed it. The seed produces in accordance with who sowed it. Question, who sold you? And so we see the timing of the gathering, let both grow together until the harvest. We see the order of the gathering is answered: first gather together the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. The how concerning the timing. The Messiah says this, he says, let both grow together until the harvest. Here's the question: how do the reapers distinguish between the wheat and the tares? Because they're so similar that those who understand how to differentiate between the two call the tares not tares, but false wheat. And they understand, if we don't take out this false wheat, it's enough for them to kill us. We take too much of this, it's enough to kill us. And if we use it, abuse it, we can become intoxicated. Receive this: time reveals the truth of a growth. Why is that growing like that? Time will tell. Why does that look like that? Time will tell. Watch this. Darnel bears a close likeness to wheat. Somebody says until the ear appears. It's interesting that we find ourselves in the month of ear forming. Are you following me so far? So they both mature in the spring. Now get this, the yield has a posture. It might not make sense to you right now, but it's about to make sense to you in a little bit. Somebody say the yield has a posture. It has a posture. So yield means this is to produce. It has a twofold meaning, really a threefold meaning, if you will. To produce or provide a product. That's one side of the yield. The other side of the yield, or the other aspect of the yield, is compliance. And then the other part of the yield is to relinquish possession. In other words, to surrender. Let me say it again. To produce or provide a product. Compliance. Or to relinquish possession, to surrender. So consider this. In the spirit realm, yield is determined by will. Somebody say, not my will. Yield is determined by will. Somebody say, nevertheless. Posture speaks to the position in which an individual holds their body. Are you hearing what I'm saying? A particular way of dealing with or considering something, an approach or an attitude. Watch this. When full and ripened, the wheat bows and droops. If you look at your screen, you can kind of tell that the ones that are maturing, the bowls are bowing and drooping as if they're bowing their heads. I said the yield has a posture, but there's a reason to why wheat has a different posture than the tares. Because there's something on the inside of the wheat that makes it bow its head when it matures. Oh God, I hope y'all hear me. I said when the wheat matures, the wheat will when it's mature, say when the ears form, the head will bow. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Say the head will bow. Watch this. This is due to the weight of nourishment, the sustenance in the wheat. Do you understand what I'm saying? Somebody say the wheat has a different weight. I hope y'all know I'm way past wheat by now. I said the wheat. Somebody said the wheat has a different weight. See, when there's something on the inside of you, your posture is different. When you understand what's on the inside of you, you situate yourself differently. See, as we begin to mature in God, we stop being so prideful and arrogant and thinking that whatever gift that he gave to us is ours to will at will. Now we understand where it came from, so we can't act like we heady and high-minded. We have to bow our. Because the wheat has a different weight. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Here's a question. Where's your head at? And furthermore, who has your ear? The spikes of the darnel are slenderer than those of the wheat. The wheat will appear brown when ripe, whereas the darnel is black. And so, literally, but I need you to hear me spiritually, the wheat has a different presence. So the wheat has a different weight, and the wheat has a different presence. But you got to know what you're looking for. Say, he knows what he's looking for. So if I can't bow my head, he doesn't have to see whether my ears are alive or dead. Matthew 13, 40 through 43. Are we going to be efficient tonight? Matthew 13, 40 through 43. Therefore, as the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of this age, the Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all things that offend. And those who, hold on, those who practice lawless. I'm talking about what Yeshua said. Let me make sure that your text read. Your text read. He says he will gather all things that offend and those who practice lawlessness. I'm just preaching the text. Don't mind me. Verse 42 says this, and I will cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Verse 43. Then the righteous, somebody say, then the righteous. So if you wanting to shine now, you're in the wrong time period. Then the righteous will shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. How appropriate. How appropriate. How appropriate. He who has ears. I'm going to let Jesus preach tonight. Is that all right? Can Yeshua preach tonight? He who has ears, let him hear. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So the wheat has a different weight, and the wheat has a different presence, and the wheat has a different posture. Do you understand what I'm saying? The wheat, somebody say the wheat is built different. The wheat is built different. The wheat, I'm talking about the wheat understands that the tare is going to grow right next to him. Matter of fact, he understands that there might be more tares than there are wheat because the tares are more competitive than the wheat. The tares are more aggressive than the wheat. The tares grow more vigorously than the wheat. Even if you don't understand wheat and tares, you've seen wheat in your yard, and you're not careful, they will take over your entire yard. Them little collar lily, them devil things, and they love water. You got St. Augustine grass, you got to water because it's a thirsty grass. But collar lilies like water too. They love it. And if you don't nip that thing in the bud quick, they will take over your whole yard. I had some pop up in the yard a couple weeks ago, and my wife was like, they're getting out of control. I said, I see them. I see them. Now, here's the thing. In order to get them out, I had to take everything out. When I say I had to take everything out, I had what they call Moses in the cradles and them. And them jokers, like the Moses in the cradles, they're like purple in color, and the color is like green in color. It was starting to look more green than purple, and purple is a pretty strong color. So just because it's green and it's growing doesn't mean that it's supposed to be there. Green don't always mean go. But anyway, so it's dominating it so much, like, and see, this is the other part. See, the water, see, the Moses in the cradle, they like water too. And that's why they were thriving. But in order to get rid of them, now it was time, watch this, because it's my yard. Somebody say it's his yard. Because it was my yard, I decided that it was time for them both to go. And because it was time for both of them to go, I took everything out. And not only was I trying to kill that weed, but I was spraying some other stuff to kill the roots too, because I don't want it to come back. This is what the Lord is going to do when he's coming to get his harvest. He's like, look, reapers, go in there and get get the tares. I hope you hear me by the Holy Ghost. So the tares are gone first. I need y'all to hear that. Because some folks think that we checking out of here early, and I got another thing. I got another thing to tell you. That ain't what Jesus said. That's not what he said. That's not what he said. As were the days of Noah, do I need to give you some more? So guess who was left after the tares were gone? It was the wheat. Where does he take the tares? He takes the tares to the fire. And I've said this before, and I said it again. People talking about it's a cold day in hell. Yeah, it is, because the grave is cold. Ain't no fire in hell. Hell is the grave. Hell is Sheol. Do you understand what I'm saying? The angst of knowing what you did. Because here's something else that might not be popular and preached. There's a certain level of consciousness, if we believe our Bible, there's a certain level of consciousness in rest. You know the other parable that he gave? Lazarus and the rich man. And there was a great chasm between them, and they having conversations. And he was like, give me a drop of water just to cool my tongue. And we interpret that as he's in Hades. No, that's knowing that you separated. That's the equivalent of death row. Never mind. But he's going to take the tares. I'm just talking about the parable. Get the tares first, and then get the wheat. How are his reapers going to know? Because when you and I look around, we think turning our face or whatever have you is going to tell us the difference between someone who is a wheat and a tare. But it has nothing to do with what we think they look like. It has everything to do with what their posture is. So what's your posture like, church? Do you understand how to bow your head? Is there anything weighty enough in you to cause you to bow your head? Because you know what's in you didn't come from you. Somebody say, what's in me didn't come from me, but it's for me. What's in me didn't come from me, but it's for me. And it's for others, because watch this. Watch this. Unlike the inanimate wheat, once you start bowing your head, other wheat around you start looking at you like, hold on, wait a minute. If that's your posture and you're like I am, then I need to fix my posture. So I wonder if we would change our posture and begin to bow our heads again. And begin to understand that what's on the inside of us should be so weighty that we just appreciate God at all times, so that no matter when he comes, that we're already in position. Because my ears ought to be mature by now. My ears ought to start maturing by now to where I understand that what's on the inside of me should cause me to be weighty. Somebody say the glory. The glory that is in my life should be so heavy on my life that I have to bow my head. Because I ought to have a different weight than the tares. I ought to have a different presence than the tares. The tares should know when I'm around. While they're walking around heady and high-minded and all out of control, that's okay. We'll stay humble because we understand that the reapers are coming. And you think them drones are bad. These jokers got facial ID for real. You can't hide from these. And whose face are they looking for? Are they looking for your face? Nope. They're looking for his face. Because the wheat have a different, they all look the same. They look like him. They look like the one who sold them. Say, I should look like who sold me. I should look like I've been in his hands at some point. God help my soul. I should understand that even though he put me in a dark place, that I was bound to break out. I should understand by now that though other things are growing and they're more aggressive than the rest of my brothers and sisters around me, that's all right and that's okay. That's how they act. Sometimes it seems like the church is moving slow, and sometimes it is. But sometimes the church is moving because they understand the pace. Y'all run. Be aggressive as you want to. Yeah, grow everywhere. Be as vigorous as you want to be. Because you'll be here today and gone tomorrow. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Somebody say, because we're going to be here. Wheat has a different weight. Wheat has a different presence. Wheat has a different posture. We built different. Somebody say we live different. We live different. We ought to be swaying in the wind. Y'all see them? Moving in the spirit. Understand that I ain't worried about this. I ain't turned by every wind of doctrine. I don't really understand what this is. That false doctrine can't get in my ears because I'm the true harvest. When I move, I'm not moved by the wind of doctrine. I'm moved by the spirit. But it looked the same. Because watch this, tares know how to move too. And they move just like wheat. Oh, they'll flow too. That's why they can come up in church and flow right with you. That's why they can go out there. That's why they can go out and do their little motivational speeches and move the crowd. Because they understand how to move, but we move different. We move without being moved. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like a tree planted by the rivers of water. Oh, just because some stuff move on me don't mean that I'm moved. Are you understand what I'm saying? The wheat has a different weight. The wheat has a different presence. The wheat has a different posture. We shine different. It ain't this little light of mine, it's this torch. Don't let your lamp be put under the bushel. But give light to every room that you walk in because you have a different presence. It's different when light hit the room. You ever been in a dark room and then somebody turn on the lights? You got to adjust your eyes. I'm saying if we would really shine like the glory of God that is on us, then people would have to adjust their eyes. Not because your suit look good. Not because you know what fashion to rock. But because the glory of God is on you so much. There's some of you that have had conversations with people like, I see, and they be for real, I see something on you. I remember I was in the service with one of the saints that's going on, and I had to wipe my eyes because the building was as bright as this one is. And my brother will be my witness. I had to wipe my eyes. I think Z might have been there too. I had to wipe my eyes. Mother Sellers. I had to wipe my eyes. And I was like, all I can see is light around this lady. I don't even understand how to explain it to you. I can't explain it to you. All I see is bright as this room. I was like, I don't even understand how to tell you what I'm seeing right now because it don't make no sense. I'm wiping my eyes because I'm a logical person, and I'm like, I ain't took nothing. Ain't no Darnold in my system now. But all I see is the light because the glory of God was on her so thick that it was undeniable. Do you understand what I'm saying? We ought to want the glory to be on our life so much that it's undeniable. We ought to be built different. We ought to live different. We ought to shine different. The wheat have a yielding posture. Somebody say a yielding posture. I should have a posture of producing. I should have a posture of compliance. I should have a posture of surrender. You get what I'm saying? Somebody give God glory right there. That's it. That's the message. That's it. I got to have the right posture. It's right there. How did they know? Because they understood the posture. And if you don't understand posture, then you don't know how to differentiate between tares and wheat. It's above our pay grade. Because we ain't going to walk around like this. But the reapers know. The reapers know who's bowing in the spirit. The reapers know whose ears have matured. The reapers know what's on the inside. And that's what counts. Give them glory one more time.